Good morning, everybody. I am outside, so you may hear some outside noises as I'm reading to you about SKYLARK by Patricia McLachlan. We're on chapter 5. Each day, Papa dropped a rope with a stone down the well to measure the water level. "Is it past the mark?" asked Sarah. Papa nodded. "How much, Jacob?" Papa held his hands a foot apart. Caleb and I got up into the wagon to go to town. "Soon we will have to haul water, even for the animals," said Papa. "We can do that," said Sarah. "We'll have to own water," said Papa as he climbed up. "But we already do that, Jacob." Papa looked down at Sarah. "We'll have to use less." Sarah stared at Papa and then got up to sit next to him. "We can do that too," she said firmly. We drove off down the road. After a while, Caleb poked his head between Sarah and Papa. Papa looked at him. "So, Caleb?" "I put the glass on the post," said Caleb. Papa nodded but didn't say anything. "To measure the rain when it comes," said Caleb. "Thank you for that," said Papa. "You're welcome," said Caleb happily. He sat back in the wagon and folded his arms. Papa smiled. All the way to town, I looked for green, but as far as I could see, the fields were brown. The wheat fields were dry. Turkey vultures circled in the distance. There was no green. Now, right now in the springtime, all the green is all around me. I'm going to just pan around and you can see the new growth on the leaves. And all this spring makes me happy, even though it's a lot of pollen. But they weren't seeing green. They were seeing the dry fields, which meant, and you learn the vocabulary word drought. So drought means there is no water. Let's continue reading. Everything seemed slow in town, as if the heat had taken over. Papa left the wagon in the shade of the granary and slowly unloaded his last bags of grain from the wagon. Slowly he walked inside. Mrs. Parkley's store was cool. Rose and Violet were there, Rose carrying Tom, who smiled at me. But Maggie had her arms around Caroline, who was crying. "Caroline, what's wrong, Maggie?" asked Sarah. "Their well is dry," Maggie said softly. "Caroline," said Sarah, "what can we do?" "There's nothing to do," Caroline said, drying her tears. "We've already packed up." "Packed up?" said Sarah, shocked. "Where will you go?" "They have family," said Maggie. Caroline took her packages and went to the door. She turned suddenly, her face sad. "Joseph says we won't come back." She opened the door and left. Maggie walked over to the door and looked out. "Surely we can do something," Sarah said. "We could haul water, Maggie. We would all work harder." Sarah's voice grew. "Thing you've worked for." She opened the door, watched them too, and turned a corner.